How has this almost decade-old game survived multiple claims of its imminent death, a change in ownership, and controversy despite maintaining a flourishing community of almost 100 million monthly players? Most games struggle to sustain a player base for a few months, let alone almost a decade. So what has kept people coming back to Rocket League year over year? To understand this, we have to rewind to the year 2000 and uncover the principle that the game was founded upon: make it fun first. It was these words from Psyonix's lead developer, Dave Hagewood, that would shape the company's future. The team at Psyonix was fascinated with the energy and pace of a game called Unreal Tournament 2003 from Epic Games. They also love snowboarding and skiing games and wanted to try it with vehicles, so they figured, why don't we just add vehicles to Unreal Tournament? Their focus was simply making the mod fun, so the game's design was flexible. Epic Games themselves noticed the potential of Psyonix's creation and agreed to move Psyonix into the Epic Games offices, where they would develop the mod into an official mode. This simple mod became known as the Onslaught mode in Unreal Tournament 2004. While the mode was never super popular, this was the proving ground Psyonix needed. Now, knowing how to use the new Unreal Engine 3, this gave them the confidence to think bigger. They tried everything, from vehicles that could shoot to cops and robbers, and eventually creating car soccer. Despite the lack of interest from publishers, Psyonix knew they had discovered their fun game. It had everything: physics, sports-like aspects, and individual competitiveness. So Psyonix self-published the game under the title of Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket-Powered Battle Cars. And after 2 long years, the game was considered a failure, pushing Psyonix to the brink. If they truly wanted their fun game to work, this meant temporarily sacrificing their dreams of car soccer to become a more well-rounded studio. They knew they would be back. So Psyonix built up their expertise through contract work, the majority of which being for Epic Games. And it was throughout this work that Psyonix became the masters of both vehicles and multiplayer. They knew it was now or never. Psyonix once again set out to bring car soccer to the spotlight, this time making it available to as many people as possible. The best way to do that is make it free. However, this wasn't well received by the players. To quote Psyonix's words, "We weren't really focusing on what was best for the player, but what was best for monetizing the player." So their original vision for free-to-play was scrapped and all the systems with it. But they didn't give up. They decided to focus on what they were originally best at: car soccer. It was this 10% of extra polish that would make all the difference. So a decade and a half after the phrase "make it fun first" was born, with the release of Rocket League in July of 2015, this principle quickly became evident to the entire world. Within a month of launch, the game sold over 1 million copies on Steam alone. And for just $20, people found the novelty of a game which was unlike anything else on the market. On top of the game's surprising success, players were pushing the limits of the game's skill ceiling beyond anything Psyonix ever imagined. And ironically, Psyonix continued to raise the skill ceiling, however unintentionally. In February of 2016, in a seemingly basic patch, Psyonix released the Rocket Labs Arena Underpass. To improve mobility on the arena's ramps, Psyonix added a flip reset mechanic. Although this change was considered so insignificant that Psyonix didn't even bother to list it in the patch notes. But it was shortly after this patch, Psyonix announced the Rocket League Championship Series, giving players a platform to showcase their skills. And not only was this a fantastic incentive for competitive players of the game, it allowed for iconic moments, rivalries, and careers to be created over time. Like a nurturing parent for their newborn child, Psyonix continued to update the game. They released a variety of DLCs, each priced to only $1.99. However, most of their content updates were free, including arenas, modes, and features. Most notably, they established new pillars for the game, like crates and a player-to-player trading system. And it was these new pillars that helped even the casual players establish careers of their own, further propelling Rocket League's popularity for the next several years. But you don't stay popular without mimicking the latest and greatest trends in the gaming industry. As in September of 2018, Psyonix released their own take on Fortnite's Battle Pass system, the Rocket Pass, which apparently worked. As into 2019, Rocket League continued to maintain a healthy player base. By April of 2019, Psyonix added weekly challenges to the Rocket Pass. At this point, the only thing the game was missing was an item shop. Apparently 2 out of the 3 were enough to seal the deal, as on May 1st, 2019, Epic Games picked up Psyonix. Despite all the warning signs, nobody saw this coming. While Psyonix referred to their acquisition as a new relationship, from what we learned earlier, this wasn't entirely true. Psyonix's long-standing friendship with Epic had essentially evolved into a marriage. Regardless, the Rocket League community entered a midlife crisis. All this happened during Fortnite Season 8, which wasn't well received by its community, leaving people with a bad taste in their mouth regarding Epic. The one overall sentiment was the same: Epic Games is going to kill Rocket League. It didn't take long for Epic to make their first controversial decision. In August of 2019, Epic announced crates and keys would be removed that December. Taking their place would be blueprints and, you guessed it, in-store credits. And just like that, we now have a Rocket Pass, weekly challenges, and an item shop. A truly epic trinity. However, the item shop prices were far from reasonable, and revealing a blueprint cost more than triple the original price of a crate. Once again, the community voiced their opinions. And the following year, the community didn't remain silent. Seemingly every Rocket League content creator was either making a video or tweeting that the game was dying. There was only one way Epic could justify this: by fulfilling Psyonix's original vision for the game, free to play. July of 2020, Epic announced just that. That September, Rocket League was going free to play. This was the thought that many players had in mind during the acquisition when Psyonix said, grow the game in ways we couldn't do on our own before. And the game grew, like, a lot. Anyone who maybe wanted to try this car soccer game but didn't feel like paying $20 for it can now experience it for free. And that original sense of novelty, first discovered by thousands, over 5 years later, was exposed to millions. This was a new era of Rocket League, and in the same month complaining that the game was dying, established Rocket League creators began racking in millions of views. Even some of the biggest names on YouTube hopped on the hype train. Not only did this open the floodgates for new players, but it offered an appeal for veteran players to return to the game and see what the buzz was all about. Granted, due to the game now being free, Epic had to find other ways to monetize the game. Over the years, they did follow up their success by releasing a few different updates like arenas and modes, but their emphasis was largely on monetization via cosmetics and collaborations, like a lot of them. As someone commented, Rocket League had essentially become one big ad that's disguised as a game. While Epic managed to collaborate with some of the largest brands in the world, the community collectively grew frustrated as the game's focus had become almost completely one-sided. And to their credit, they at least tried different ways of advertising the game outside of collaborations, like storytelling. Storytelling had been Epic's strong suit with Fortnite, which had actually followed a cohesive storyline since the game's release. But spending thousands of dollars of Psyonix's budget to create movie-level quality trailers, only for the in-game content to be a skybox change on a map that came out 5 years prior, just doesn't make any sense. And it felt forced, and the community could feel it, being just another way to promote the latest season. So a whole 7 years after Rocket League's release in December of 2022, cheaters finally became a concern. Epic addressed the issue, but they didn't allow the dust to settle for too long before stirring it up again themselves. Only weeks after over 800 layoffs, Epic announced they would be removing Rocket League's player-to-player trading system that December. And just like that, another foundational pillar gone. If removing crates wasn't enough for the community to feel betrayed already, this signaled the end of the game more alarmingly than ever before. So the community is left with $25 bundles via an item shop or a battle pass with weekly challenges, you name it. The game's focus has shifted substantially since Epic Games acquired Psyonix back in 2019. To Psyonix's credit, for such a bare-bones game to be maintaining almost 100 million monthly players nearly a decade after its release is nothing short of incredible. This is absolutely a testament to how refined and strong the gameplay loop and ultimately foundational principle behind the game truly is, despite being limited to the capabilities of an engine that came out in 2006, which is likely why the game hasn't seen more modes like Knockout Bash, for example. Epic Games wouldn't continue to remove features of an already bare-bones game if it wasn't a stepping stone towards something much larger like an entirely new engine. Despite their questionable decisions or mistakes, Epic has learned not only how to create a behemoth of a game and ultimately franchise, but how to sustain one as well. Around the time of player-to-player trading being removed in December of 2023, a Rocket League racing mode is supposed to release in Fortnite. The idea of Psyonix's creation once again becoming a side mode in one of Epic's games is pretty wild. I think it's safe to say that regardless of Epic's decision-making or claims that the game is dying, the original team at Psyonix, their persistence and dedication to their fun game will continue to withstand the test of time, lasting many more years, if not decades to come. Psyonix, Epic, if you're listening, remember to make it fun first.